in the morning on the next day, members of the Azure Dragon clan set out on a journey. They were heading to the foot of the Taehan Mountains, where the estates of the Dam clan were located. The young man brought a small squad of warriors with him and was determined. He genuinely wanted to know the whole truth about what had happened in that place. The second deputy of Murim thought the glints of the rising sun were a good sign, but his deputy wondered if they entrusted such an important task to such a young clan too early. However, they couldn't do anything about it. After all, the clan leader had chosen that young man to be his son-in-law, so the men had no choice but to trust him. Doubts still tormented the deputy head, and he couldn't keep them to himself. He kept talking and talking until the leader asked him to be silent again. Chai Jin also shared information that, in addition to this squad, he personally sent a trusted person to gather information, and they would soon have new relevant data on the matter. Bo Jin was outraged. Not only did his friend assign several people to solve this issue simultaneously, but he also did it secretly. The man apologized to his friend because his actions were dictated by the desire to avoid misunderstandings, but the first deputy was still dissatisfied. Another person was observing their dialogue on the rooftop. He listened attentively and memorized every word the men said. Meanwhile, a new day was beginning in the Shangxi Valley. The sun shone brightly from behind the mountain range, illuminating the trees with its warm rays. The hero walked along the road, pondering how uneasy it must be in the village right now. He disappeared right from the wedding ceremony, and now there were also news about the Dam clan. After the destruction of the Yun village and the killing of all members of the hero's family, Hwi Chon wandered for several days on the territory of the Dam clan. It was then, lost and embittered, that he found a cave with a gigantic luminous stone containing an unsurpassed spirit of martial arts. To prevent anyone from using its power, the hero decided that the stone needed to be destroyed. The Dam family had excelled in martial arts even without it, and if someone used the spirit's power for evil purposes, it would be a great disaster. He pounded it with all his might until the stone cracked and shattered into small pieces. However, fate threw the hero into the past, at the moment when he had just married a girl from the Dam family, Hwa Yun. Hwi Chon understood how incredible his story was. No one would believe him, and they would consider him mad, even if he tried to tell anyone about it. Therefore, what happened to him had to remain a secret. Meanwhile, the sun was already shining brightly over the Yun village, and it was quiet, peaceful, and calm. Hwi Chon's house gleamed with cleanliness. The new mistress had tidied it up while waiting for her husband. Hwa Yun sat by the window, contemplating where her husband could have gone right after the wedding. Did he disregard her because it was a marriage of convenience? The girl also feared that she simply didn't appeal to the man. Hwa Yun never considered herself a beauty, although her appearance was quite charming. If that incident hadn't happened on that day, how could everything have turned out? Twilight descended upon the city, and the Dam family always looked down on Dam Jia-ju. This was because Jia-ju's stepmother came from the Dam Shangxi clan, and the man led a feudal life, drowning his days in alcohol. It was precisely alcohol that ruined Jia-ju, but nobody cared until his death because he had done no good to anyone during his lifetime. However, the man had a little daughter, Hwa Yun, and after her father's death, the girl was taken under the care of the Dam family. But an easy life did not await the girl there. Instead, she was treated like a servant, performing a million different household tasks while her peers played carefree. In reality, her life was incredibly tragic and cruel. The girl often cried in her room. She was alone in this world, and no one could take care of her. One day, while carrying a basket of dirty laundry, a man asked the head of the clan about the identity of the beautiful girl. The Dam leader replied that she was the daughter of his niece, and the man proposed to betroth her to his son, the best martial artist. Che's son was surprised but agreed to such a beneficial marriage, especially since she was just the daughter of a niece, not his biological daughter, and he could sacrifice her for a profitable marriage. After this incident, Hwa Yeon got her own room, beautiful clothes, and a personal maid. The Dam family dressed the girl beautifully and always took her to events to showcase her to others. People began to talk about how the girl would grow up to be a true beauty, and rumors circulated about the divine beauty of Dam Hwa Yeon. Indeed, with each passing year, the girl became more beautiful, and her outward beauty complemented her inner strength. She was a magnificent person. Hwa Yeon had excellent taste and a gentle disposition. People gave her the nickname Heavenly Phoenix, and they always enjoyed her company and conversations. When the girl turned 16, an unpleasant incident occurred that once again changed Hwa Yeon's life. She was sitting in her room when someone suddenly covered her mouth with their hand. Due to the hand being large and broad, the girl guessed that the intruder was a man and became very frightened. The intruder in her chambers turned out to be Shin-ho, the heir to the Dam clan. He ordered her not to make a sound if she wanted to live. The boy had known the girl since childhood, as he and his sister played while Hwa Yeon cleaned the floors in their house. However, he had also witnessed her transformation into a true beauty. The girl understood the malicious thoughts in the boy's mind and forcefully pushed him away with all her strength. She didn't know how to save herself and her honor because it wasn't just anyone, but the heir to the Dam clan, and in fear, she retreated. The man didn't like Hwa Yeon's reaction, and he promised that she would regret daring to strike him. Suddenly, the girl's gaze fell on the fireplace where the coals were smoldering, and a special rod for turning them lay on top. Shin-ho didn't understand how, but she managed to run past him and grabbed the glowing iron. The girl was determined and threatened the boy with the tool not to approach her. She also threatened him with the wrath of the head of the Dam clan if there were any flaws on the girl's face before the wedding. Shin-ho decided that the girl had gone mad and tried to take the glowing rod from her, but he was too careless. The night's silence was pierced by a cry of pain, a turning point in Hwa Yeon's life after which she stopped considering herself a beauty. Cherry blossoms gently swirled outside the window in the village of Yeon. These trees grew everywhere, decorating the homes of the local residents and bringing them joy. Hwa Yeon sat by the window and thought that most likely her scar repelled her husband, so he disappeared immediately after the wedding. She didn't know what to do, but suddenly heard a gentle breeze behind her and turned around. It was strange. Behind her stood Hwi Chon. He asked if the girl had been waiting for him for a long time and if everything was all right. Her face looked so puzzled. Hwa Yeon was surprised because the man approached her so quietly that if it weren't for the breeze, she wouldn't have noticed his presence. When asked where the man had been, he replied that he had punished those who deserved death, and his voice sounded indifferent at that moment. Hwa Yeon asked in confusion if she had understood him correctly because the answer was very strange. Then Hwi Chon gave her an answer that clarified everything. He said he had destroyed the Dam clan, wiped their presence from the Shangxi Valley. The girl was astonished. It sounded like a strange joke. However, the husband said that even if it sounds strange, it's definitely not a joke. It's the truth. The Dam clan no longer exists. The boy was called by his father. He heard his voice and approached to confirm whether his child had really returned home. The man told the boy to follow him. They needed to have a private conversation, and they immediately left. Hwa Yeon looked in bewilderment at the backs of her husband and father-in-law. She didn't understand what strange things Hwi Chon was saying. How could this be true? The men entered the main building of the Yeon clan and closed the doors behind them. A serious conversation awaited them. The boy's father sat behind a sturdy table and began his interrogation. He wanted to know where his son had fled immediately after the wedding ceremony. The entire village searched for the careless groom, but there was no trace of him. Where and for what purpose could the newlywed husband be wandering? No one knew. Hwi Chon explained that the Dam family had discovered a new gold vein and informed the hero about it, so he had to leave for a while. The head of the Yeon clan was surprised. Such a thing simply couldn't be true. However, the boy assured his father that there were people among them who were loyal to the Dam clan, so he had to deal with this issue on his own. Hwi Chon supposed that his grandfather and godfather were among those people, as they were happily drinking alcohol at the celebration. The boy's father pounded his fist on the table. He couldn't stand traitors and wanted to deal with those who were not loyal to their own family right away. The clan head also noticed how these two had become close recently, and their behavior was not good. The fact that the Dam clan, known for its cruelty and immeasurable ambitions, had discovered a gold vein was very bad news. The boy saw that the information troubled his father, and he decided to confess, saying that no one from that clan would bother them anymore. The head of Yeon was surprised and asked again. The boy repeated what he had just told his wife. He had destroyed all the members of the Dam clan. The hero also said that at the moment, he had one unfinished business, and he would be able to describe the whole picture to his father later, after settling his matters. When the clan head asked what super important matter his son could have, he calmly replied that he was going to execute the traitors. The man stared in shock at his son. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. Could it be true that the Dam clan was really destroyed? His child had been away for not so long, but during that time, he had completely changed. Now, he was a completely different Hwi Chon. Meanwhile, two traders from the Yeon family gathered their belongings and tried to escape far from the village and the troubles that awaited them. The grandfather urged the man, as they had already heard what people were saying about the destruction of the Dam clan in the Shangxi Valley, and they were afraid that death would come for them too. Suddenly, a voice from above scolded the men for living in idleness while others took care of having enough food for the winter. The boy jumped off the boulder that rose above the road, startling his relatives considerably. He asked if these men had ever thought that their foolish actions and thoughtless deeds would lead to bandits simply raiding the village of Yeon. The men didn't like the tone and words of the young man. They were older and demanded respectful treatment. In turn, they began to shout at the boy. However, the hero was indifferent to the traitor's words. Because of them, irreparable damage had been done, and many innocent lives, both adults and children, were lost. The boy concentrated his energy and directed it in a wave of power towards his former relatives. The men began to cough and suffocate. Hwi Chon grabbed the traitors by the throat and said that their actions were the cause of their dishonorable death. He desiccated their physical forms just as he had earlier destroyed by Yoon. The men turned into dehydrated mummies. After finishing, the boy pushed their bodies away, as if they were unwanted sacks of bones. He was repulsed not only by touching them but even looking at them. Standing over the traitors, he said that their lives were in vain, and everything they deserved after their actions was death. Sometime later, the Azure Dragon squad reached the residence of the Dan clan. The building was in a terrible state, and chaos reigned around it. The squad leader inquired if they had found the body of the clan head and concluded that the spectacle here was not for the faint-hearted. One of the warriors replied that eyewitnesses present during the massacre reported that the head of the Dan family, along with his children, was pursuing someone, and they split into squads to gather more information. Then the leader asked if people had found out where Dam Hwa Yeon had been sent, but practically everyone who knew about this marriage had died. The girl's wedding was so shrouded in secrecy by the heads of the houses that very little was known about this union to those not initiated into the inner circles of people. Even the groom's name was kept secret from everyone. All that could be learned was the location of the village, to the south of the mountains, but this mountain range was incredibly long. The man had met Hwa Yun from the Dam clan at a social event a long time ago. It was a memorable day. The most pleasant memory was this girl, beautiful as an angel descending from heaven. Since then, the man dreamed of her becoming his bride, as such a feeling had only occurred to him once, and he was ready to lay the whole world at Hwa Yun's feet, just to have her with him. It was difficult for the man to concentrate on his mundane routine. All his thoughts were occupied by the image of the beautiful lady. Being far away, the master missed her so much that he would overcome thousands of kilometers just to see her silhouette in the window. One day, when the boy returned home, his father called him for a serious conversation. This news broke the man's heart. On that day, Myung-go learned that the Dam clan had broken off their engagement. He couldn't believe his ears, as no one even mentioned the reasons for such an action. The father said that the clan head had decided to marry the girl to the grandson of the Murim alliance leader. This news shocked the boy, and his father forbade him even to think about the girl. However, such was beyond the power of the enamored youth. Myung-go could not forget the girl and would roam the territory of the Dam clan for hours, hoping to catch a glimpse of her from a distance. But even this proved futile. The girl seemed to have disappeared. That's when a friend told him a story that astonished the young man. The friend explained that due to an incident, Hwa Yun had suffered a facial injury. To conceal this disfigurement, her family had decided to keep her away from prying eyes. Myung-go completely lost his composure after hearing this news. He delved into the study of medicine, read numerous books in the hope of finding a way to heal his beloved's face. And now she was married to someone unknown. Even if he belonged to Murim, his connections with the Dam clan did not bode well. The man tightly gripped the hilt of his sword. Undoubtedly, this man, her husband, was as cruel and despicable as the head of the Dam clan himself. Myung-go's contemplation was interrupted by his subordinates, who identified the culprit responsible for annihilating the entire Dam clan, someone named Yeon Hwi Chon. The commander then ordered all the warriors to gather and immediately head to the Yeon village to find this person. Hwi Chon stood by the shore of Lake Manhwa, which was incredibly beautiful but no less poisonous. Nothing living could survive in this lake. The boy thought about purifying the water of Lake Manhwa from poison. If successful, it could be used for fishing and irrigating fields. If the hills around the lake were cultivated and vegetables and fruits planted, the village wouldn't have to fear hunger anymore, and there would be no need to worry about survival. Even if they sold the gold from the well now, the Yeon village would survive. However, all its inhabitants needed to become stronger, not just financially. With these thoughts, Hwi Chon jumped into the lake, taking the first step to realize his grand plan to improve the lives of the people living under the same roof as him. The boy's energy spread in waves across the water's surface, expelling poison, healing the lake's structure, and filling it with vitality. The hero confidently walked along the lake bed with a goal that would help save hundreds of lives. He considered it worthy and noble, so he was sure of what he was doing. Reaching the other shore, he thought that perhaps the answer to his question was hidden here, in the cave near the lake. Standing at the cave entrance, Hwi Chon pondered. It was the very place where he gained knowledge and martial arts skills. Hwi Chon entered, feeling that the key to his task was nearby, somewhere on the surface. He just needed to look more broadly. The sun had long set, and the moon illuminated the Yeon village with its rays. The little girl ran with all her might. She couldn't afford to stop under any circumstances, or she wouldn't survive. A pack of wild dogs chased the child. The famished beasts caught wind of the girl's fear and refused to release their rightful prey. Despite the girl running as fast as she could, the dogs were closing in. She was very small and couldn't obscure her trail as adeptly as adults could. Meanwhile, Hwa Yun decided to stroll through the streets of her new home. She was curious to explore everything around, and she also wondered where her husband had disappeared to again. Suddenly, Hwa Yun heard a child's cry for help. Looking ahead, she saw a little girl running towards her, pursued by 3 hungry wild dogs. Determined not to let the little one get hurt, Hwa Yun caught her in her arms, shielding her with her own body from the crazed dogs. These dogs were truly frightening, snarling with sharp-toothed mouths, saliva dripping, and madly gleaming eyes. A few more minutes, and the dogs would pounce on the woman and the child. However, Hwa Yun couldn't run. The dogs would catch up sooner or later. Now there was a chance to at least save the little girl. Suddenly, a male shout rang out, and the village elder leaped forward. It was a stroke of luck because the man had a weapon with him. He zealously struck one of the creatures with a stick, then another. The dogs whimpered, but their blood was boiling, and they didn't back down. Knocking out one animal after another, the man could finally breathe a sigh of relief. He had managed to save his fiancée and the neighbor's girl from death. The man asked Hwa Yun if the child was alright, whether the dogs had bitten the little one. The girl shook her head in denial. Looking at the little girl in her arms, who was now frightened and unconscious from fear, Hwa Yun suspected that she came from a wealthy family. She was well-dressed and groomed. Hwa Yun guessed that she was running from someone, not just the dogs. The head of Yun advised the girl to hurry and hide the child. One couldn't know who else might come into the village in the middle of the night. At the sound of the commotion, people came out of their houses, wanting to know what had happened, why there were barking dogs in the middle of the night. The village elder looked at his people and explained that wild dogs had entered the village, but he had dealt with them, so everything was all right. Suddenly, they heard the voice of a stranger who was dissatisfied that the dogs were called wild because they were excellent hunting dogs. He and several of his comrades emerged from the forest following the dogs' tracks. The leader continued to question, asking whether this man had killed all their valuable dogs, mistaking them for ordinary mongrels. The village elder replied that he had to defend his people. The dogs attacked, and he didn't know they had owners. The bald, red-bearded man laughed. He thought the elder's words were nonsense because their dogs couldn't attack anyone without a command. Most likely, the leader was hiding the girl the dogs were chasing. Elder Yun replied that he hadn't seen any child but was willing to compensate the men for the damage caused by the hounds. They could part ways amicably. The red-bearded man didn't hesitate much and almost immediately stated that he wanted 28 grams of gold for each of his dogs, such was their value to the owner. The old man standing behind the leader intervened in the men's conversation. The amount mentioned for one dog equaled the cost of a house. The old man asked the men to stop being impudent. The trio's leader placed his enormous hand on the frail shoulder of the old man and asked if he understood correctly. Did the old man consider the bald man's words a joke? This situation began to stress Elder Yun. He didn't know how to get out of the situation with minimal losses, and money seemed to be the simplest option. Possessing a significant internal strength, the village elder examined the power in the stranger's gesture. The man was attempting to exert it on the old man. Head Yun hastened to warn his old acquaintance of the danger, and several people turned towards his words. But the man didn't make it. The bald one's hand, which touched the old man, twisted and turned it. The old man lost consciousness. The villagers opened their mouths in astonishment and stared at the outrageous incident, not even trying to help the elderly man. At the feet of the red-bearded man, with a contorted face from pain, lay the old man, a member of their community. No one wanted to repeat his fate. Suddenly, the bald killer said that he didn't like jokes, so the villagers could draw their own conclusions about whether to joke with him. Staring directly at the leader, the stranger said that if they couldn't pay him in gold, they could pay with their bodies. He was ready to take 4 of them with him and pointed with his finger at whom exactly. The village elder didn't like these people from the very beginning, and their conditions were downright outrageous. Therefore, no one was going to agree to them. One of the bandits in a mask drew his sword and decided to attack the man. The village head took a defensive position, ready to repel the blow. The robber was strong, evident not only from his physical form but also from the aura of power surrounding his body. His movements were very fast and lightning-like. The elder stood, tightly gripping a long stick in his hands. However, he didn't even notice how the man approached him and made just a few sword swings. In shock, the leader looked ahead. He didn't even feel the touch of the metal. The man screamed. Elder Yeon's weapon was split in half, along with the man's limbs.
Didn't even get to cross.
In the valley at the foot of the mountain range, 2 travelers were slowly making their way, sent from Urim to gather information. The old man in his straw hat tried to understand why they were sent on the trail of Myung-go's squad and why there was so much secrecy surrounding their assignment. The second man was counting prayer beads and, taking a break from his activity, he suggested that instead of pursuing Yeon Hwi Chon, they should go after the Azure Dragon squad and investigate what the warriors overlooked. The hat-wearing old man then asked what they planned to do with the one who wiped out the Dam clan. Would they capture him and send him to prison? The Grand Monk replied that everyone knew how despicable the members of the Dam clan were. They showed no mercy, and their reputation was fitting. However, they were strong in martial arts, and letting their deaths go unanswered wasn't an option. The man was genuinely surprised about who the person was that managed to exterminate an entire clan and what kind of power he possessed. The patrol elder then asked why they deviated from the squad's path and were now taking an entirely different route if their task was merely to observe and note unnoticed facts. The monk explained that there was a place the squad leader ignored, heading straight for Yeon village, and it would be beneficial for them to investigate here. The men stared at the mummy-like body lying on the ground and pondered which technique might have been used on this person. They also noticed other bodies nearby and hurried to examine them as well. While the first body suggested a modified demonic technique, the second body seemed to have undergone changes from within, likely due to concoctions made by the Dam family. Looking at the huge brown monster, the monk thought that this person clearly exceeded the permissible dosage, resulting in such a transformation, and despite all his power, he met such a pitiful end. The hat-wearing elder discovered the body of the Dam clan leader and hurried to inform his companion. The sight was incredible. The men saw the condition of Chai-won and the pit in which he lay. It was evident that he made it with his own body. The Grand Monk summarized that such a retribution against martial arts masters, especially in their enhanced form, could only have been carried out by someone who improved the martial arts formula itself. The man thought to himself that Myung-go's squad was in danger because what happened to the Dam clan was unimaginable for an ordinary person. The bandits didn't want to leave the village. Hwa Yeon saw what was happening and, unable to bear it, ran out into the street to her father-in-law, but it was too late. Elder Yeon was still conscious, but he wanted to protect his daughter-in-law from the bandits, and all he could do was whisper an order for her to run away without looking back. Uttering these words, the man breathed his last, and the girl started crying. She couldn't believe what was happening. Nothing foretold disaster this evening, but it happened. Interrupting Hwa Yun's thoughts, the red-bearded man said that now the price for the dogs had been paid, and they could talk about the main question. Casting a furious glance at those present and stopping his gaze on the girl, the man asked where they had hidden the child. Hwa Yun looked at the bandit in fear and said there was no child. She didn't understand what he was talking about. The dogs came running from the forest and attacked the village. The bald man was furious. He said that these people didn't understand the situation, and if they wanted to lie until the end, he would help them cope with it and remember the truth. The thug ordered his partner in the white mask to take care of it. The white ghost, as this bandit was called, was to burn the village to the ground. The bandit produced a dynamite stick in his hands. He effortlessly lit the fuse and showed the device to the onlookers. Everyone fell silent, staring at the man in incomprehension. Then, the white ghost tossed the smoking sticks into the nearest house, a large, beautiful structure owned by one of the villagers. An explosion echoed, and the building shattered into small pieces. The fire leaped from beam to beam, relentless. People on the street started screaming and bustling around. They didn't understand what was happening. Who were these people who had come, killed the village head, and were now destroying their homes? Meanwhile, the bandit lit another explosive. He had no intention of stopping. He genuinely wanted to burn the entire village to the ground. Swinging, the white ghost launched the next projectile into a more distant house. Another explosion rang out, and the fire started spreading to the nearby structure. People began rushing out of the houses. Encouraged, one of the men armed himself with makeshift weapons and went to attack the saboteur. However, these men were ordinary folks, lacking the speed of a warrior. The white ghost quickly responded to the peasants rushing towards him. He drew his sword and directed it toward the attackers. A couple of sword swings, and there were no more brave souls trying to defend their homes from the invaders. The crowd exhaled in fear, watching the last of the men settle. No one wanted to die today. Hwa Yun watched in horror as her new home burned, her people were killed, and she herself was helpless. Suddenly, the red-bearded man grabbed the girl by her hair and pulled her back sharply. He tilted her head upward so she could see his face and asked if she understood what awaited them in case of disobedience. Simultaneously, he seized her hand, deciding that physical pain would convince the girl that he had no intention of killing or sparing anyone. The bald man effortlessly, playfully, snapped the girl's index finger, and in the silence, the sound of the bone in her hand cracking was audible. Hwa Yun screamed, experiencing intense pain. No one had treated her so cruelly before. The red-bearded man added that torture was his specialty, and if she hadn't understood yet, he would easily help her find the right answers in her mind and tell them all the information they needed. If the girl continued to resist and refused to cooperate, the next time not only her fingers would be broken. The man promised to break not only her fingers but also the joints and limbs of her and her people, slowly, one by one, ensuring they endured prolonged agony. Hwi Chon walked through the cave where he had recently experienced a miraculous transformation. He had no idea what was happening in the village now, so he continued to contemplate how everything unfolded. The guy returned to the place where he gained his powers, stood, and pondered in complete silence. Thanks to the spirit of the cave, Hwi Chon had gained strength and perfected his martial arts. The stone he shattered was now intact, but it didn't shimmer like it did when he first found it. The hero speculated that perhaps the artifact had used all its magic to transport him to the past, but the hieroglyphs on it still shimmered, just like that time. Hwi Chon thought he could train here. Besides, he hadn't explored the area enough. After all, the most interesting things are always hidden. Advancing toward the stairs, the man looked at the spring, which shimmered as mysteriously as the enigmatic artifact. He wondered if the stone contributed to this glow and transferred some of its magical properties to the water. He scooped up the water with his palm and took a few sips. Its taste was delightful, but what surprised the man the most happened a few seconds later. Literally, his entire body filled with energy. He distinctly felt energy streams intertwining in his body, much like the circulatory system. The hero looked again at the spring. Just one sip of water from it gave him vigor and restored his strength. He thought of his wife. Surely, this water could heal Hwa Yun and help many people in the village. Encouraged by his thoughts, Hwi Chon felt powerful, with the opportunity to change the lives of his loved ones for the better. With confidence, the hero entered the cave to become stronger and realize what he had planned. Meanwhile, in the village, the bandits were trying to achieve their desired outcome through torture. Hwa Yun, even from intense pain, refused to betray the child and kept her presence a secret. The red-bearded man was angry, considering the girl insignificant. Even when he broke all her fingers, she shouldn't make a sound, and now she screamed because of just one. Then he pulled out a bottle of a strange-looking substance from his pocket, calling it a special torture method specifically for Hwa Yun. The bottle contained parasites known as brainworms, rarely used in the art of torture. The worms entered the person's body through the eye sockets. They were so thin and nimble that a person didn't notice how they infiltrated the brain. Then the parasites began devouring the cells of the nervous system, and the person experienced incredible pain, convulsing with every limb in the rhythm of a dance of hellish agony. The bandit approached the girl, holding the bottle up to her face, asking if she wanted to try this delicacy for the uninitiated. Hwa Yun was horrified, and the girl didn't even have the strength to scream. She silently prayed for everything to stop. Suddenly, the red-bearded man felt a strange energy in the air and a sword kicked into his shoulder. It was unexpected for the man. Turning around, he met the glowing sword face to face, the blade right in the middle of the bandit's eyes. The red-bearded man recoiled and made a sudden leap backward, letting go of the girl, while Myung-go's sword sliced through the air. The bandit was surprised that there were knowledgeable martial artists in the village. Why hadn't he noticed them before, or were they hiding from him? However, upon closer inspection of the young man, the bandit realized he wasn't a local resident. But then, who and for what reason would someone intervene in the conflict in the middle of the night for the sake of some villagers? Myung-go was angry, suspecting that this red-bearded scoundrel was Yeon Hwi Chon. He was ready to kill him without hesitation. Energy surrounded the boy. He released his inner strength and aimed his weapon at his opponent. The sword's edge wounded the bandit, and he recoiled in bewilderment. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave comments to help the new video come out as soon as possible. Have a great day.
Didn't even get to cross.